Welcome to the Good Karma Sportfishing Podcast. I'm your host, Captain Ryan Van Fleet. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. So I really hope you guys had an awesome Christmas and got to spend some time with your family and friends and just chilled out. So as far as what we did, we just chilled, basically. Just chilled out, hung out with the dogs, and I was scheduled to fish on Christmas Eve, but the weather took care of that. It's just been a up and down roller coaster with the weather this Christmas, and it's nasty this week. Looking at the forecast right now, 20 mile an hour plus, going into the weekend, it looks like, into Saturday morning. So I pretty much shut down. So I just made a decision to shut down my operation and restart fresh here after the new year. So typically I take this week off to recharge. Melinda and I typically take off and go to Izumi Harris this time of year, but with all the stuff with COVID and all that stuff, we decided to just hang tight this year and stay home. So doing our thing. But last weekend we had some really, it just was this weather thing was really just as bizarre, has been really challenging. So I don't know if you guys watched the old movie Patton. So around the holidays, it was always a tradition to watch the movie Patton. And yes, the movie Patton. It's actually an incredible movie, and there are some really good messages in that movie. Now, I do come from a family of military. My father served in Vietnam, and he was in the Navy. And my grandfather, Stigner, who's no longer with us, he served in World War II in the Navy. And he never really talked about it, which I don't blame him. But the things that I did hear was getting torpedoed, sitting in the middle of the ocean in the dark, waiting to get rescued. Something to think about. So anyways, I really do respect those that serve, and so does Melinda. So thank you for your service. That includes all police, and we really are very grateful. So thank you. Now, we watched Patton. And then it was a tradition that we watched Patton. And then my brother and I, we started watching Patton when we moved away, and we watched it. It was funny. I called my brother and we started talking about Patton and quoting the lines and stuff. But one of my favorite parts in that movie was the weather prayer. Okay. And it's a true story, and you can Google it, the Patton weather prayer. So it happened before the Battle of the Bulge, and General Patton was sick of the weather, kind of like all of us. We're like kind of sick of all the weather because it's been going on for quite some time now. And I'm not the only one that feels like this. Now, anyway, so what Patton did was the night before the Battle of the Bulge, he called a chaplain in and had him write a weather prayer for some good weather the next day. And I think the chaplain thought he was a little crazy because, General Patton was a little like out there. And if you go back and do the history on General Patton, he was a little out there, but that's what made him so great. But, anyways, so Patton prayed for good weather, and I'm not going to read the prayer, and you can Google it, but the Patton weather prayer, the next day, the forecast was scheduled. So this forecast was calling for more crap and really bad weather, and Patton read this prayer, and the next day, they had a weather window, and the Battle of the Bulge took place, and the rest is history. So what I did last weekend was I laughed. I told Melinda, I was like, this was like last Friday, okay? Last Friday. It was on Christmas. It was the forecast for Saturday was scheduled to be 20 miles an hour plus north, super cold. And I've been watching the weather, and I'm like, something doesn't feel right with this forecast. And when I was going to bed, I saw it kind of slack down a little bit, and I was like, something's off. So so I said, I'm just going to do a little patent weather prayer. And she laughed at me. And I dug deep. And I don't know, forecasts change. You can say whatever, but the power of prayer and really asking for help above and beyond is something that I really want to stress to you guys that I'm not afraid to talk about. And a lot of people are, but I'm not, because I just feel that is a higher power out there, and sometimes you just got to really ask for help. And I asked for help, and I got up the next morning, and I was like, it looks like the patent weather prayer paid off. And I don't use it too often because you don't want to like overspend that stuff, is what I tell people. And go ahead and laugh if you're laughing, but I want you to go back, and I can tell you what, I'm not going to say much about it anymore. So you can believe what you want to believe. But I got up the next morning, and my client calls me from the parking lot, and he says, "Whoa, what happened to the weather?" And I go, "It's good, right?" He said, "Yeah, it's really good." I go, "Well," and then the prayer was answered. So he started laughing. So we ended up having an amazing day, and there was nobody out. I counted 6 boats. We had gorgeous weather. We had a very light north wind. Yeah, it was frozen out there, but the fish don't mind it, especially this time of year. What I've learned is that you have a few weeks in December where the fish really, if you do it right, you can really, really do a number on the reef fish, especially if there's no pressure. So we had to fight the seagulls, but that was another story. And we had an amazing day, and the weather kept getting better. And when people started waking up and they realized that it was happening, it was a little too late because it gets dark early. And when the boat started coming out, it was like maybe an hour, like a couple hours left in the daylight. And we had a limit of black groupers. And we left the giant yellowtails. We left some. I had jumbo yellowtails eaten out of the chum bag the whole day. We caught as many as we wanted on every flat line that we put back. Now, it wasn't easy. I had to do some moving around. I had to do some changing around with baits. So my job is to make it look easy. My job is to make this stuff look really easy. And I do a lot of preparation to make stuff look easy, and I come up with a plan. I stuck with the plan. So, and at the end of the day, the guys were like, I executed it, and it was all strategic of how I worked the weather and made it happen. So, but one thing I can tell you is that I had no control over what was going to happen with that forecast. But I like to think in the back of my head that little patent weather prayer, I call it. And if you're any type of sportsman and you're new to fishing, then you need to ask for all the help you can get, especially when it comes to spirituality out there on the water. Ask for help when you need it. If something isn't like, if you have a piece of equipment that's not working, you need to take a breath, and you need to ask for help. So another crazy story. So this happened in the month, like the end of October, November. And I was like super frustrated with a lot of things that were going on. And I was like really sad. I want to be honest with you guys. I was really sad. I was really kind of just like, I didn't know what was happening with a lot of different stuff. And I was just beat down because of weather and some things that were going on. And so I was getting ready to go to work on the Sea Hunter. I had all my stuff packed into the truck that morning. Okay. And so I had everything going. Melinda was gone. She was traveling for work. And I get everything loaded up, and I'm kind of running a little bit late because, I wasn't that motivated to go that morning. And I was just like, it was just like something like I wasn't myself, because I just had some really shitty things going on. So I get all my shit loaded up, and The weather I knew was going to be shitty because the forecast had lightning storms and rain predicted and all this other stuff. And the bait, I couldn't get bait because it was really bad, and we had all this rain, and my bait selection sucked for the type of fishing that I wanted to do. So I get the dogs out, everything that morning, and I get all my shit loaded into my truck, and my client's going to be there within the next hour and a half, and I got to get there, and I'm running late. And this isn't my typical self that morning. I knew something was wrong. So after I get everything loaded up, I went inside the house, and I went back outside the house, and my car door was locked with all my shit inside of it, except my phone. So somehow I had locked myself out of my own truck. Now, I am like really anal when it comes to my boat stuff, but when it comes to my truck and stuff, I am just not that great as far as spare keys go and all that stuff. So this is crazy. So I didn't have any backup batteries. I didn't have like a backup fob. My fob was dead, and I'd been dead for a while, and I hadn't bothered to fix it. Like I said, some things in my life I'm just not that great at it. For some reason, Melinda's talked about that in the past with my truck. So I got inside. I basically was like, man, I just had a breakdown. I'm locked out of my truck. My client's going to be there. I need to work today because I need to get paid, and I need to go fishing. So because I know I just got to get out of the water for my mental health to make myself feel better. And I was just frustrated. I had no way to get there. It was COVID. So of course, like nothing is like, and I think this was like in October, I'm sorry. And of course, I just couldn't get a hold of anybody to help. And I didn't have anybody to call. So I was like, I'm going to break the car window. And I called Melinda. She's like, don't do that. You need to ask for help, she said. You need to ask for help. And I go, what do you mean I fucking ask for help? So I literally stopped in the middle of my living room, and I asked, and I prayed hard, okay? And then I stopped, and I sat on the couch, and I looked at an old trolling motor battery like an old trolling motor fob that I had sitting there, okay? And I just clicked in my brain, and I go, I bet you that trolling motor fob battery will work for this old car fob. So I found a little screwdriver. And then I busted open the trolling motor fob because it would not open. So I couldn't find a screwdriver to fit. So I busted it open with a hammer. Got the little battery out of the remote control. Now, and then I replaced it. I put it in this old car fob that I had sitting in a drawer and I was like telling myself I was going to get a new battery for this thing, and I never did. Like I said, I'm not great with vehicles and stuff, but I'm really good with my boat stuff, like beyond good and super anal. But other shit, I'm not that great. So I found this old trolling motor fob. I have like a whole bunch of trolling motor controls, and I switched out that fob battery. So I took the trolling motor battery out. I put it in my car remote control battery. I don't know what the hell. That just came to me amongst all this chaos that might work. And sure as shit, I was able to open up my car door. And I was able to go to work that morning. And I was able to get on that boat. And my client asked me, and I was like hustled. And I was there, and I got everything ready 10 minutes before he showed up. And I was a little flustered when he got there. And I apologized because I wasn't myself, and I had rushed to work and got things ready. I told him what happened, and he's like, what the heck, man? How did you even think about that? I was like, I don't know, man. I prayed. So I'm going to end it there today. This is a podcast I really wanted to put out there. Don't be afraid to ask for help, okay? That goes for anybody that's out there listening that's struggling with anything. Struggling with something mechanically, you feel that you're too proud to ask for help. I was in your shoes, ask for help. So, get over yourself. That's what Melinda tells me. Get over myself. So, I've got some really good stuff planned for the podcast for 2021. Please join up to the Facebook group and fill out the document that's in there, because I'm going to be, as far as the feedback goes, because I will be creating podcasts based on your feedback for 2021. Now, within the next few months, I'm going to talk about cold weather fishing, because a lot of people struggle in the winter. So it's different. And when you start realizing that, it'll start, you're going to make the most out of your time on the water, and make the most out of those winter days of getting out there and catching some nice fish. And just know that winter's different. And when you put that in your brain and adapting to catching different species that you normally wouldn't catch, and, suck it up, catch a few sailfish, man. It seems like people are like, oh, I don't want to catch those. You can't eat them. Well, you're going to be a better angler when you learn how to catch those fish. That's all I'm going to say. And you're going to learn a lot about the ocean and the currents, and that's I'm getting a lot of people asking me about learning about currents. Well, a sailfish is going to teach you about current, and I'm going to leave it at that. So, for all you guys that are like stuck on yourselves and not wanting to catch sailfish because you can't eat it, or like or like, guys, you're going to learn a lot about fishing, and you're going to become a better fisherman when you learn how to target those fish, okay? You're going to learn how they move. You're going to learn a lot about, and you're going to see a lot of different things by shutting those engines off and looking around you, learning about the currents and how they're moving, and I'm just going to leave it at that. So something I'm going to talk about more here in the future. And you're going to become a better bottom fisherman when you learn how to sailfish. That's the absolute truth. Okay? And I'll talk about that more in the upcoming weeks of podcasting here. I've got some really good stuff, like I said. Make sure you follow me on Instagram as well. I really appreciate the guys that are following me on Instagram, because you're knowing what's going on with my fishing and what's happening. It shows support as well through social platforms. And like I said, this podcast is free, and the information that I provided over the past year has put a lot of really big fish in the boat for people, and it saved people a lot of time and money, which is what the goal was for myself, and to give back to the fishermen that are really starting to learn, because I wish there would have been a me when I started out. And that's why I do this podcast. I do this to help people out. So now, also too, make sure you check out my courses. I've got those for sale at the goodkarmafishingtackle.com. The courses are designed to really coach you through and show you exactly what I do as far as fishing goes on my charters. And guys, I lay it all out there in the courses. Everything's there. I appreciate the guys that have been purchasing tackle through the Good Karma fishing tackle store. Like I said, it's an Amazon affiliate store. I give you the absolute best price I can through Amazon. It's free shipping for the most part through Amazon, and I make a couple cents off each purchase, and that just goes to support the Good Karma Sport Fishing podcast, because it is a free podcast, and the information that I provide in these podcasts are nuggets that you would have to pay for to go to and travel and spend hotel money on for seminars that you only get once a year. Now, on certain seminars, I provide a weekly podcast, sometimes two, seminar style, and I hide in each podcast nuggets that are worth their weight in gold. And that's why I call them nuggets, because they are worth their weight in gold, and they will change your fishing. They will change your fishing, because the nuggets are what we all want, including myself. That's all I got for today, guys. I will be doing a podcast here with Melinda here before January 1st, so it'll be probably here in the next day or so to wrap things up for the year. It's going to be a really good podcast, and please stay tuned for that one. And I hope everybody's going to listen, because it's going to be a good way to start your year off right. So thanks again, guys. And remember, anytime you're fishing, it's all good, no matter where the hell you are. Bridge fishing, dam fishing. I don't give a shit what you're fishing for. Anytime you're fishing, it's all good. Thanks again, guys.